Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest. Before I do that, here's a quote just for this episode. It's hard. It's hard to be consistent in anything. And that's why so few people can do it successfully. But when you do, when you are consistent in whatever goal you're trying to get to, typically you get the results you want. Rob Wishnick. Our guest today is a great friend for, man, almost a decade, I'd say. Um, and I'm reminiscing a little now, thinking about, uh, speaking and trying to get the word out. The culture matters, and they have always been a student, I think, of leadership and culture and team and customer service and value to their clients. They're I've been on the show before, but over 20 years actually as a professional in helping people achieve their dreams of home ownership, which now I finally understand more than just books in the last 2 years. And we talked about last time. And episode 805 is our last episode. Set your mind and go get it. Season 68, Rob Wishnick. Thanks so much for coming on the Culture Matters podcast and not becoming an accountant and instead helping people do what they need to do, right? Build their cultures, not just companies and business, but home and family and all those things. So thanks for coming on the show. I'm not going to call you a debt dealer, don't worry.
Peddler.
A debt peddler. Yeah.
Excited to be here. Excited. Thank you for having me back, and excited for the convo.
I remember, I think like our first coffee ever was at like a Starbucks in Philly. And I think was it our mutual friend Noah that introduced us or that taught me?
I think it might have been Francis. But you
Oh,
couldn't say
Megabot.
no. We definitely had that mutual connection as well. But
I got to get him on the show, Francis. What a small world. I just met some awesome entrepreneur that was raving about him too. Wow. I thought it was Noah and he's done so much for me as well. That was almost 10 years ago. A
yeah,
long time.
yeah, and a
So
lot of cups of coffee in between.
yeah, I'm preparing this morning. I was re-listening to the last show though, and and that's why I picked that quote. You said this at the beginning of the show about consistency, and recently I went through what are the core values of Culture Matters as a firm, and preparation, urgency, and consistency was number four. Curiosity, consistency, focus, and education. But consistency came up for me too.
Yeah.
I'm curious if we can go a little deeper on that. Have things changed at all, or since the last time you came on the show, or has that always been a staple in your career? Have you?
Yeah, so it is by far the number one thing that has helped me succeed. And whatever you want to define as success, just advance professionally. Um, I am, I have consistent habits that I continue to do every day that I will continue to do for the rest of my career. And it really is the most important uh, single thing I think that is practiced for me, no matter how the business evolves and what interest rates look like, things like that. If I continue just to do the the, the basics and show up every day and make the calls and just continue to be uh, responsive um, and show up. You know, most people you could give an opportunity to many people, and if you said, "Hey, in 3 years you're going to have this level of success," but it's going to take you almost over 1,000 days of doing the same exact thing over and over, they wouldn't do it. And it's for me, it just it became habit. And once it becomes habit, just like anything else, it's now it's ingrained in my brain and it happens every day. And there's just certain things that I do every day.
I have to ask about this because I feel like they're suffering. Hey, it's not easy. I don't want to make a show that it is, but things are starting. I feel like they're starting to happen for me because I just haven't quit yet.
Yep.
I can't like what. So just going time what? Because you're over 20 years as in your expertise here. Do you remember how many years it took before some of the leverage started coming back to not to take away from because I want to go into those fundamentals, but where it started working for you, your business started working for you. Was it, how many years in,
I,
obviously in the roller coaster, right?
yep. So the consistency, the day I went from taking a salary, having a processing job to going 100% commission, I'll remember that day the rest of my life. I remember where I was. I remember the conversation that I had. And from that day, I knew, and maybe slightly before, I knew I'm going to have to do certain things because now it's on me. Nobody is going to be paying me a dime unless I go do the things that I need to do. So it's been that's been I've been in the mortgage business for 23 years now, so we're probably about 18 years of being 100% commission. Um, so that was the first mindset, and then when I made a change to a larger company where I had more resources, that then helped where that gave me different tools to be able to evolve the business and grow the business, but the same consistency was still there. And as long as I could continue that consistency while scaling, that made all the difference.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people now that are in those career evolutions of smaller company, maybe thinking about bigger company or bigger company thinking about smaller company, but the smaller to bigger. Can you expand on that in your hero's arc? Because it sounds like if you started, and this is a whole philosophical thing, as a process, yeah, I hadn't recalled that processor. There's a whole breadth of experience and values and perspectives that could come with
Sure.
that for to be the professional. So,
Yeah.
my first question is on the resources piece, like in your heroes, what would be your advice to people?
So
Um,
I'll go off on a little bit of a tangent here,
please.
man. Yeah. So the mortgage business for the past 4 or 5, maybe 5 years, um, there's been, this broker versus banker, uh, not shift, but what's better than the other. And a lot of people that come from the banking space and larger companies, let's say, and then they want to open their own brokerage and become their own CEO. That's great. Some people want that and they want to be the boss. And um, I'm the boss of my team within a larger organization. But it takes away when you own something, while there can be plenty of benefits there, it also takes away from what you've been doing, right? So for 23 years, I'm a loan officer, banking titles, I'm senior vice president, but I'm a loan officer. Every single day, I'm talking to borrowers, getting them loans. So it's that hasn't changed one bit. My Some other roles have changed, but I still am a loan officer at the end of the day. And once I have to get distracted on other tasks like running a business, like having employees to hire or fire, now you're being uh, taken away from the task that is making you money. So you got to have the right tools in place to make sure that the business is still there, right? So it's a very, tough decision. There's not one better. It's what works better for you.
Mm.
And for me, if I had to own my own company, there's a whole lot of other things I'm having to worry about versus getting somebody's loan to the table. And right, and for 23 years, my sole focus has been get that borrower to the settlement table with as least pain as possible. So, so that hasn't changed. That will never change, and that is the goal on every single file.
What's your take on this thing of one's better than the other?
It's
Just what's your take?
what works for the person, right? We've seen bankers become brokers and come back to be bankers. We've seen brokers go into the banking world to come back to be brokers. It is what works for you and your market. There is no one better for the industry. It's one better for every person. And some plans will work with, some opportunities are better for certain individuals, and then not the case.
Because you make a great point. You that point when you explain the your analysis, it led me to think this. I'd like your thoughts on like there's a cost to everything. So consumers going to pay for anything, right? And ultimately, value justifies those purchases, which is what? It's a lot of things that are hard to even, some things like, what is value? Um, but I was thinking about the dumb tax of the entrepreneur. Because when you said, because we all have a dumb tax, I've paid my dumb tax. Like, I know how much I paid, and our customers have too. I'm sorry, guys in the back and gals, they have paid the dumb tax. So I was thinking the resources of the company, so you could focus on the customer experience versus have to learn these other new things. There's a dumb tax. So I'd be curious of a study or something of like how much whatever savings could happen in theory or in possibility of going one route, if it's a cheaper process to go one route versus a big corporation. How much is the dumb tax and who's paying for that? The customer, the entrepreneur. I don't have an answer here, but it's more of there was a book, Keith J. Cunningham. He was like the coach of the coaches, and he talks about the dumb tax. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Poor Dad. He was like the real dad, the real coach. This guy, Keith Cunningham. Yeah. Anyway, so the dumb tax. What are your? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. That's why it's like, which one's better? Yeah, which one is for you, and how well are you going to perform for your customers? That's how I take that.
Yeah. So one of my value propositions is you come to me to purchase a home, you're maximizing your chance of settling on that home, right? There's I'm putting the right tools in place. I work for a company that provides me with the right tools to make sure that we are maximizing your chance for success in that transaction. Uh, so it's to me, that's most important. I'm able to grow a team. I'm able to offer competitive terms, and to me, it's that's what works for me and is able to let me continue to grow and evolve in the business. Like operationally, a lot of people have pain in the mortgage business, right? They can bring in a sale, but then they don't have anybody to help get that deal to the table, and that's where deals can fall apart if you don't have the right team looking at things. And I can proudly say that that's not one of my pain points, right? We have some seriously green grass on our side to help that process through. So
What would you say because I want to go back to the processing, just so the audience understands, processing is a very different job than loan originating, if I understand correctly. But are there things that you'd say you learned that you draw upon from that experience and education that just are invaluable to you today at some level that make
yeah,
you
no,
unique?
yeah, I mean, I started this business as a processor, so I learned how to get, why underwriters want certain documents, so we don't have to go back to a borrower 3 different times, which everybody hates, to get the similar document or on the same condition. So, learning why things are asked for, learning how loans are qualified, how a transaction works, from start to finish. Um, it was the best way I think I said this in the last podcast. It is absolutely the best way to learn this business, just to continue to see deals over and over and over again, practicing, right? Almost practicing like they're your own deals and caring like they're your own deals. And that's when you have good people working with you when they care as much as you do. and they're pinging me on the side, like, we need to get this, it's really important. Like, we need to get this in the next 24 hours. Like, I love that. Like, it's because I know that they care. And I know that the people that I have working with me and the company, we all care to get to that, we all want the best customer service and customer experience because that is what builds your reputation.
How many other loan originators have you met that started that way?
Um, So, well, I didn't befriend many outside loan officers until I was confident enough to basically, like, I sort of kept to myself and kept under wraps. But nowadays, I certainly talk to plenty, and um, it's most that have gotten to another level have had some level, probably not as long as I did. I think I was like 5 years where I was processing and trying to grow a book of business. Um, uh, but at least a couple years in that, like how to, operate the automated underwriting systems that Fannie and Freddie provide and things like that. Like most high level producers have had some experience, even if it's 6 months, or a loan officer probably wasn't their first job. They probably built their way up from an operational role, even if it was like doing verifications of employment, things like that, to then getting into sales. So most have had some operational experience. If you can figure out what those, or not figure out, but if you can work your way up through the chain in mortgages, sort of like, mailroom to a loan officer, like then it's you sort of the more pieces of the puzzle you can see, the more you get the transaction. So
It makes me think like
Mhm.
when there's tons of demand, customer facing, then things can processes almost they can loosen up. When there's less demand, nope, you're starting in the file room and that's it. There's
yeah.
value, like the core values come from
Yeah, and that was
awareness.
the issue during COVID for the industry, right? You couldn't the demand was so great and you couldn't find enough people. It was like being a quarterback without a wide receiver to throw the ball to. You just couldn't find enough people. The demand was so overwhelming for the whole industry, and you just couldn't find enough people to help get the product to the finish line. So it's like purchases have serious deadlines. You got to focus on the purchases, refinances. We can close a refinance in 10 days now, right? Like during COVID, the
Yeah.
industry was like 60 days if you were on a good day, right? Just because it was like, well, the purchases have to have certain deadlines and the refinances you close as quickly as you could touch. So now everything's right sized a bit, right? So companies have gotten, to a level, but mortgage business can never really be right sized because there's so many factors that determine when you're going to be busy or not.
You mentioned make the calls responsive, show up. I wanted to ask about responsiveness.
Yeah.
What do you
Uh,
mean?
Oh yeah, so my team, like the people that work with me, like I get a lot of calls even internally, not just from customers, but internally because I pick up the phone. It's my phone is on me, and when it rings, I'm like a lab rat. It's like it's buzzing me, and I feel like I need to pick it up. And I've been that way. Like somebody calls me on a holiday, like I'm just gonna pick up my phone if it's a customer or whatever, and if I'm not in front of my computer and I can't help them right that second, we're gonna help them ASAP. But I'm responsive. I don't duck from problems. If there's an issue, we're gonna hit it head on. And it's phone and email, like voicemail, phone and email are like my superpowers. I systems, I'm very hit or miss with certain systems. I'm great with certain not, but I am at inbox zero by the end of every single day on every single email platform, voicemail zero. Like it's it's real, and it's Monday through Sunday. Like it never ends. And
So
that's I'm in
how, what
business. I'm in business
advice would you
myself.
have
So.
for me? How do I get to zero inbox? I would like
Yeah.
coaching from
So
you.
so there's a business coach a while back told me, like, the three columns, right? There's what has to be done right now, what is important but can wait a little bit, and then personal. So nothing personal comes into my work email. So everything personal goes to, my Gmail. So that's easy. So friends don't email me on my work email. My wife doesn't email me on my work email. Everything is personal. And then and I'm just good. Like, if I am very good at like unsubscribing on personal lists so that I'm not getting overwhelmed. If I see an email from like some product or whatever, I just unsubscribe. Get
Okay.
rid of it.
Oh,
So
that's
it
good.
cuts out a lot of those emails. And then it's really focusing on, okay, like if I'm in the middle of something and an email comes in and it's urgent, I'm just going to jump at it. If I can handle it really quickly, get distracted for a second, jump at it, and then be off. So a lot of my team works the same way. It's like, if something comes in and it's urgent, like, just handle it now, be done with it, and keep going top down
Wow.
from emails as opposed to bottom up on emails.
Would you say that, well, so urgent, so that came up, is that one of your core values? Even if it's implicit, it may not be on the wall.
Yeah,
Is there a
the
sense of
worst thing somebody
urgency?
can say to me is take your time, because then I put it to the side. Just, if it's the worst thing whenever somebody says that, I'm like, shoot, like, I have to make sure
Yeah.
I handle it, because I don't take my time. Like, everything is important to me. If an email comes in, I feel like I need to answer. It's my responsibility to answer it, even if it could wait. I just want it off my plate so that I don't have to worry about it later. So I'm trying to be as responsive as possible, as quickly as possible, always.
That's gold mine. Yeah, I want to go from 4,317.
Uh,
And there was a time, well,
I don't have anxiety. You
shout
give
out
me
to
anxiety.
shout out to Peter Spurgel, who I think it's episode 652. I'll get the episode. I don't have them all memorized yet. That's a goal. He's like, Jay, you need an email. It's our, one of our, I would say, my mentors, attorney. You need an email. And I'll tell you, when I got an email and I took ownership of scheduling the podcast, that's how I've been able to record 540 in a year. This is number 242 of the year. Um, and that's what led to having 50 people at the Capitol Grill that I care about, like taking ownership of try. So, and it wasn't always that way. And now I can level up with your feedback. This is not even something I've thought about. I would love to be at zero. And I'm thinking of all the things that I'm subscribed to and being experienced in this email. And how personal and business is all jumbled. What a mess. What
Yeah,
a mess.
that's important, right? It's you have to me, that the personal, and the, because again, personal, there's very few things that I have to deal with personally that are like urgent. Like, obviously, if an email about my kids comes in from their school, and like, so I'm always on the lookout for that. But there's very few things that can't wait until the nighttime personally, right? So when the phones aren't ringing. So that stuff just goes into a separate box, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm so, like, anything like financial advisors, like anything like that. I'm like, even though I'm like, I have financial advisors that refer me stuff, I'm like, I need you to send my personal stuff personal, my work referrals to the work email. So
I love it. That was episode 645. Anyone interested? Peter Spurgel. So I'm going to set up a personal email and unsubscribe from those, and live the core urgency, which is number two. This is a way to live it within this context, right? Values don't have value if we don't know where to put our attention. That's how I've always looked
yeah.
at that. It's like, where am I missing my actual behaviors? What some great insights. What about and we'll end here. I want to ask about the make the calls piece. So, for example, I had this pleasure of meeting this gentleman in Naples at a Real Producers event in Naples, Bud Willis, the author, last night. He goes, every day I had my Rolodex, and whoever was on the Rolodex that day, I would call that guy in the morning. He's 84, 60 years, he said. Last night in the money business, he said. That was his process. Do you have a process of your own as it relates to how you make the calls and talk to the people?
Just that I make them. I don't time block. I probably would be better served time blocking. But again, in our business, like we could have such an easy transaction, but then something comes up. There's a title issue, someone didn't sign something, right? So there is uh to slightly go off on a tangent here, I thought it would be a good idea to join a gym around the corner from my office, and I would go midday. Me and another buddy from work, we thought that that would be a great idea. We went 0 times, zero, because by 12 o'clock, your day can go sideways.
100%.
And so it's just too there's too many things going on. It's too irregular a job that I can easily time block. So the goal is just, clear it all out by the end of the day. But make the calls. The point is, if you're not making your important calls that you need to make, then you're behind. So
That's great. I guess, in closing, what do you want well, a couple things. What would you like our listeners to think about when they think about you? And then how can they connect with you
yeah.
and do business with you?
So look, I love to see. I love to help however I can, whatever small thing. Hopefully, you gain something out of this. And the certain things that I do well, I what I do is not rocket science. If it was, I wouldn't be doing it. It's just I figured out after 23 years in a sales role how to perform at a high level and be consistent. And if there's anything I can do to help anybody, like it's easy. It can easily be replicated what I am doing. Most people just aren't willing to do it. So
Mm. And how can people connect with you, Rob?
yeah. So I try to
Don't give your work email.
yeah, get my work email. Exactly. So robw@rate.com is my work email. Really easy. robw@rate.com. Philly Mortgage is my Instagram, where I try to post and am back from my 6-month hiatus of posting. So just try to put some
Oh,
timely videos on there. So that,
so they're going to follow you and you're going to be posting more content.
yep, we're trying.
So I get that's like the next time that you come on the show, it'll be sooner than later. I'll have a cleared out email and you'll have more content than me.
There we go. That won't happen, but I'll try to at least be consistent.
Peterson taught me, right, it's rule 4 and 12 rules for life. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to someone else's today. I think that's
I like it.
rule 4. Yeah. They're starting to slip. I had them all memorized for a
Got a
while.
lot of knowledge up in that brain.
And you lose it. It goes away. I had some neuroscience guy on the show. Yeah, John Cook was telling me how there's all these little fibers in your brain, and then they start dying, and you got to keep the muscle. If you're trying to keep a quote in your head or something, you have to say it every once in a while. But yeah, I believe that's yeah, rule 4. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else's today. Because rule 2 is treat yourself like somebody you're responsible for. Yeah. Anyway, please follow Rob. He's got great content, so much to offer. I learned something today for sure that I could take action on. Great reminder. And please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast. That's how we grow the show. And we will greatly appreciate leave an honest review. Thank you, Rob. You're the man, and I'll see you all soon.
Thanks so much.